Hey everyone, welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime. I share missing persons, cold cases, true crime in the news, and more. And this is our missing person Monday video for the week. I have six missing person cases from North Carolina this week. And first we have Steve Lewis Arrowwood Jr. Steve went missing on April 3rd, 1975 from Gastonia, North Carolina. He is a white male. He was just 18 years old at the time he disappeared. He will be 68 years old today. At the time he disappeared, he was 5'8" to 5'9" and 145 pounds with blonde hair and blue eyes. He did have a small reddish birthmark on his chin and a small scar under his chin, and he may have went by his middle name Lewis or the first name Stephen, and he was right-handed. So Stephen was last seen in Gastonia, North Carolina on April 3rd, 1975. He lived with his parents in the 400 block of Chestnut Street. He has never been seen or heard from again. He left behind an uncashed income tax refund check for $500. He had previously left home without warning on March 9th. He did leave a note for his parents, but he did not say where he was going, and he withdrew $815 from his savings account. His parents got a letter from him on March 20th saying he was fine, he had gotten a job, and that he had gone to Dallas, Texas to see a 30-year-old married woman that he was having an affair with. So the woman's husband was a long-distance truck driver. He caught them on March 30th and threatened to take the life of Stephen. The woman agreed to travel to New Orleans, Louisiana with her husband as long as he did not harm Stephen. Stephen returned to Gastonia on March 31st, and his girlfriend denied having ever seen him again after he left Texas. A letter addressed to Stephen and postmarked from New Orleans arrived in the mail on April 7th, 3 days after his disappearance. The authorities did open it, they read it, and they thought it would provide clues to his whereabouts, but they said it did not contain any valuable information. In the days after his return home, Stephen told his friends that he thought that the woman's husband was following him. And on the day of his disappearance, he had dinner with his sister at Fern Forest Apartments, and then he went out with friends, or a friend. And while he was with his friend, Stephen said that he saw his girlfriend's husband's car with the husband inside the car. Now, Stephen's friend couldn't see the driver, but he said that the car did follow them as they drove away. Stephen dropped his friend off at home, which was on East 3rd Street at around 10:30 p.m., and this is the last time anyone saw him. Several hours later, his 1971 Toyota was found parked near the swimming pool at Fern Forest Apartments, which was where he was having dinner or supper with his sister. The vehicle's door was open. Stephen's belongings were inside it. The keys were in the ignition, and this is a strange part, there were a pair of men's underwear lying on the ground behind the car. So 2 weeks after Stephen went missing, police located and questioned his girlfriend's husband. The husband refused to take a polygraph test. They let him go. This individual, the husband, has never been publicly identified, and it is unclear whether he is considered a suspect in the case. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, he would definitely be up there, top of my list as a person of interest at the very least. Unfortunately, Stephen's father passed away in 2008, and his mother passed away in 2012. Now, interestingly, in their obituary, it was noted that Stephen predeceased them, meaning he passed away before them. So apparently, at the time of their death or before they passed away, they were, it was seen by the way this was worded, at least in my opinion, that they assumed that he was no longer with them. His four sisters are all still alive. Foul play is suspected in Stephen's disappearance, and it remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Stephen, his disappearance, anything you may have seen regarding this, the husband of his girlfriend, possibly on the night following them, he and his friend around in the car, any information, no matter how insignificant you might think it is, contact the Gastonia Police Department at 704-866-3300. All right, next we have Debra Jean Asbury. And Debra went missing on September 26, 1994 from Lexington, North Carolina. She's a white female. She was 26 years old at the time she disappeared. She will be 56 years old today. At the time she went missing, she was 5'9", 140 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a white sweatshirt, blue jeans, white Reebok sneakers. They say several rings, including one with the word love and a black onyx stone. She did have a birthmark on her right leg near her calf. Her ears and her navel are pierced. Her maiden name is Marlowe, and some accounts refer to her as Debra Marlowe Asbury or Debra Jean Marlowe. So Debra was last seen leaving her home, which was in the 400 block of Westside Drive in Lexington, North Carolina, at approximately 8 a.m. on September 26, 1994. She had told her sister that she was going to meet her boyfriend, Andy Probst, at a store on West 5th Avenue. Debra left her purse and her keys behind, and she also left food for the day's dinner defrosting on the kitchen counter. So apparently, if she left her car keys or car's keys and purse behind, it just seems a little odd to me that if she was going, unless the boyfriend had money and a way to buy food or to whatever they were going to do at the store, to me it seems a little odd that she left her purse and her keys behind. And then she also left food, dinner defrosting on the kitchen counter, which will lead me to believe, in my opinion, that she was planning on coming back, and she never made it because after that she was never seen or heard from again. Both Probst and Debra's ex-husband had previously threatened her, and the police were summoned to Debra's house on DV complaints several times in the months before her disappearance. In July of 1994, just 2 months before her disappearance, Debra was charged with GSWing her ex-husband. She had filed assault charges against him twice. The first one was in 1993. It was withdrawn, and Debra made the second complaint in August of 1994, and he had a court appearance about it scheduled for October. Debra has 9 siblings and 4 children. Her ex-husband was the father of 1, and the other three were fathered by Probst. Debra's youngest child was only 6 months old at the time of her disappearance. Her loved ones describe her as a devoted mother. They stated it was uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning. Her case remains unsolved, and foul play is suspected. So if you have any information regarding Debra's case, contact the Lexington Police Department at 336-243-3311. And I do have an article with some additional information on Debra. I believe it's an interview with her family. And this article is from September of 2019. And it says, a family in Lexington is the definition of never giving up hope. Debra Jean Asbury disappeared 25 years ago on September 26, 1994. I woke up for the past 25 years every morning with the hopes that she would knock on my door, said Julie Friday, Debra's sister. Lexington police believe that Debra left her house on Westside Drive and walked down the street towards a neighborhood convenience store to meet someone. Now, it said in the Charley Project information to meet her boyfriend. Debra left behind her purse along with her keys and her ID, and she has never been heard from since. If she is out there and she hears us, we miss her and we just want her to come home, said Courtney Patterson, who is Debra's daughter. Debra's loved ones came back to Westside Drive on the 25th anniversary of her disappearance to release balloons in her memory. Family members took turns reflecting on the time they got to spend with Debra and how they wish those memories had not been cut short. It's not fair that I didn't get that chance with her. It is not fair that I can't call my mom up because somebody took her from me, Patterson said. As balloons soared high into the sky, the only thing keeping the family grounded was each other and their vow to never stop searching. I can say I'm done, and 2 months later, I'm doing it again, and there's no stopping it. I can't stop it. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do, is to just keep looking for her, Patterson said. So if you know anything about this missing persons case, once again, you're asked to call the Lexington PD immediately. Next, we have Samantha Elizabeth Baremore. Samantha went missing on April 6, 2004 from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She's a Black female. She was 24 years old at the time she disappeared. She will be 44 years old today. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'6", 115 pounds, with brown hair. Her nickname was Pinky, and her stage name was Sunshine. Some accounts spell her last name Barremore, or her first name, Samantha, and she has a tattoo of her late father's name on her thigh. So Samantha was last seen leaving the Sugar Bears VIP Club on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Winston-Salem, North Carolina during the early morning hours of April 6, 2004. She was employed at the club as an exotic dancer. She got into a Willard Cab Company taxi cab, drove away, and she has never been seen or heard from again. Samantha did not have a car at the time of her disappearance, and her family often drove her places. Her family realized she was missing on April 8th when her sister went to the club to pick her up and discovered that she was not there. Her relatives did report her missing on April 10th. Samantha resided with her boyfriend, Cedric Bobby Lemon, in an apartment off of Silas Creek Parkway at the time of her disappearance. She had stated that she was considering leaving Lemon. After her disappearance, all of her belongings, including her dance bag, which she normally carried with her, were found in her apartment. So Lemon stated that their relationship was quote, rocky, and he and Samantha argued after she arrived home on the morning of her disappearance. So get your red flags ready. He told her he did not want to marry her, and she told him that she was going out to get a newspaper and find a new place to live. Now, this is according to the boyfriend. Lemon said that Samantha had occasionally left him for short periods of time before, and he assumed that this was one of those times until her family became concerned. Mr. Lemon was arrested for probation violation after Samantha's disappearance. He has an arrest record dating back to 1995, mostly for substance and driving related offenses. Offenses. Samantha herself was on inactive probation at the time of her disappearance. In 2000, she was convicted of felony possession. She received a suspended sentence. Mr. Lemon did pass away of an OD in 2018, and this was 14 years after Samantha disappeared. The circumstances surrounding Samantha's case are unclear, but her mother believes that she is deceased, as it is once again uncharacteristic of her to be out of touch with the family. She is originally from Lexington, North Carolina. She does have a daughter who was raised by a relative, and her case remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Samantha's case, please call the Winston-Salem Police Department at 336-773-7700. And I believe I do have some additional article with some information. All right, this information is from ourblackgirls.com website, and it is from March of 2020, and it just has a little bit of information, additional information. It says things were getting tense at home for Samantha Elizabeth Baremore. She and her boyfriend Cedric Bobby Lemon lived together in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but it was not a peaceful dwelling. Samantha had shared with loved ones that she was considering leaving Lemon, but it looks like she never got the chance. So I found that interesting that in the Charley Project information, it says that the boyfriend, Cedric, told her that he was not going to marry her. So maybe that was the reason she was considering leaving, or if, I'm not saying, but if Cedric, the boyfriend, was somehow involved, that might just have been a story that he gave to law enforcement and the family. In the spring of 2004, Samantha went missing. On April 6th, she finished her shift at the Sugar Bears VIP Club, where she was employed as an exotic dancer. She left early in the morning. As I said earlier, she received a ride home from the Willard Cab Company, and she has never been in contact with her loved ones since then. Another thing I found interesting in this article is it says Samantha's family was not even aware that she was missing until days later. Because Samantha did not have a vehicle, she did rely on public transportation, taxi cabs, of friends or family members for rides around town. On April 8th, Samantha's sister went to the club where she worked to pick her up, but she was told that she was not there. She returned the next day and learned that Samantha had not returned to work in a few days. And on April 10th, Samantha's family did file the missing person report. So when questioned, the boyfriend, Mr. Lemon, admitted that his relationship with Samantha wasn't a walk in the park, as they say. He reportedly said that he did see her on the morning that she went missing, but that he was not responsible for her disappearance. Mr. Lemon also claims that she returned home, and they argued because he let it be known that he didn't intend to marry her. So he says that he did not see her on the morning she disappeared, but then he goes on to say when she returned home, they had an argument. He said he didn't want to leave her, and then that was apparently, according to him, Samantha allegedly told him that she was leaving to go pick up a newspaper to begin her hunt for a new place to live, and she never returned. So my question would be, how long in his story, if he told law enforcement how long it was between the time when she disappeared, supposedly disappeared from work, or left from work that morning that she went missing, and then when she returned home. How long of a time span was that? That would be my big question. He goes on to say, we had a few words. We didn't leave on good terms. She has left before and maybe gone and stayed away for a couple of days, and I thought maybe this was one of them. Samantha's relatives took to the streets to see if anyone had seen or heard from her. They visited exotic clubs, hotels. They talked to residents. They distributed flyers. When they visited her apartment, they reportedly saw her belongings, including her dance bag, packed up near the door. And in the Charley Project information, it said that she took the dance bag apparently wherever she went. So that would lead me to believe that if they saw the dance bag in the apartment by the door, that she did make it back to her home after she left on the morning whenever she disappeared. That's just my opinion though. Uh, Her family was adamant that she would never leave that behind, her dance bag behind, if she had left of her own accord. Barbara Ash, who is her mother, has mother's instincts, it says, and while other parents believe their children are alive out there somewhere, she thinks that Samantha has passed away. Her mother says, I just feel in my heart that she's no longer here. Samantha was the mother of a young daughter when she vanished, and Barbara, her mother, insisted that Samantha would never take off without contacting her loved ones. And I firmly believe that. I'm always been of the mind that 99% of the time, a mother would not just walk away from her children. Her mother, Barbara, goes on to say, I truly feel my child is deceased, and I just would like to have her remains. So apparently, Samantha's employer did see her leave. Bob Evans, the manager of Sugar Bears, told a reporter that he saw her leave the club on April 6th. Some dancers also reportedly said they saw Samantha arguing in the parking lot with an unidentified man. However, Winston-Salem police would later issue a statement saying that Samantha was alone when she got into the taxi the morning that she went missing. So it's another in my opinion, obviously a very important part of the case. You have some of the dancers saying that they saw Samantha arguing with an unidentified man in the parking lot. Now, whether that man was her boyfriend, Cedric Lemon, or not, you would think, and I don't know how long that she had been working at this particular nightclub, but I would think, in my opinion, that the boyfriend that Mr. Lemon would have at some point, or maybe more than once, had been to the nightclub, and if he had been in there, you would think that maybe some of the dancers would have recognized him, knew who he was. But then again, it's very early in the morning. It was dark. It doesn't say how far away that they were from Samantha and this unidentified man. So it may or may not have been Mr. Lemon. Lemon and Samantha met in 1999 at a nightclub where he worked as a bouncer. They did not begin a romantic relationship until 2003. Following his girlfriend's disappearance, Samantha's disappearance, he was reportedly arrested, like we said earlier, on a probation violation. He claimed that authorities did question him about Samantha for hours. They took a blood sample, and they even gave him a polygraph test, and police would not confirm or deny his allegations. So once again, at the time of her disappearance, Samantha was 5'6" tall, around 115 pounds. She had brown hair and brown eyes. It says she kept her makeup and outfits in a black bag with colored ballerina patterns. She also, like we mentioned earlier, had the tattoo of her deceased father's name on her thigh. Her family nickname is Pinky. Her stage name was Sunshine. So once again, anyone with information regarding Samantha's disappearance is urged to contact the Winston-Salem Police Department at 336-773-7700 or call your local authorities. This is Donna Michelle Barnhill. Donna went missing on March 18th, 1981 from Lexington, North Carolina. She is a Native American female. She was just 13 years old when she went missing. She will be 57 years old today. At the time she went missing, she was 5'7", 125 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She had a mole or a birthmark on her right arm, and she was last seen wearing a dark blue jacket, an orange sweatshirt, and jeans. So Donna left her family's residence in Lexington, North Carolina on March 18th, 1981 at approximately 8:30 p.m. She was planning to walk to a friend's home nearby. She was last seen walking on Hempstead Street. Donna contacted her friend shortly thereafter, but she never arrived at the house, and she has not been heard from again. Donna's older sister, Anita Barnhill, had passed away in February of 1966 at the age of 2. Now, her family said that she had fallen out of a high chair and hit her head, and her death was ruled an accident. In 1999, a reporter looking into Donna's disappearance became suspicious about Anita's death, and they did urge police to reopen the investigation. So authorities did reclassify Anita's death as a homicide by child harm. No one has been charged in connection with her homicide, however. Police stated that the investigation into Anita's death does not change Donna's missing persons case. They did search her former residence with ground penetrating radar in 2009, and nothing was found. Both of Donna's parents are deceased, but 3 of her siblings still live in the local area. Foul play is, they say, possible in her case, and it remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Donna's disappearance, call the Lexington Police Department at 336-249-8947. And I do have an article once again with some additional information. And this is from NBC News, and it is from March of 2015. Donna Michelle Barnhill was just 13 years old when she disappeared. No one has seen her in nearly 35 years. On the evening of March 18th, 1981, Barnhill left her home in Lexington, North Carolina to walk to a friend's home nearby. Since then, no answers as to what could have happened to the young teen have been uncovered. North Carolina-based Community United Effort Center for Missing Persons did release a new sketch in October of 2014 of what Barnhill might look like today, hoping that she might be alive somewhere. A CUE news release about the new sketch stated the organization wanted to leave no stone unturned. After so many years, these cases fade from the public's radar, but for the families and friends of a missing person, the nightmare continues. Every minute of every day, their loved one is absent. CUE founder Monica Kaysen told the Dispatch at a vigil event geared towards Barnhill in November of 2014. Captain Bill Scarborough of the Lexington Police Department told the Dispatch that Barnhill's case remains, they have over, but I'm assuming they mean open, but that all leads have been followed. He says, quote, "All the leads we have had before have been dead ends. We would love to take the case that is this old and bring closure to it. So once again, if you have any information that can help crack this cold case, please contact the Lexington Police Department at 336-243 3302 or the CUE Center for Missing Persons at 910-343-1131. Next, we have Virginia Lynn Beach. Virginia went missing on October 17th, 2000 from Wilmington, North Carolina. She's a white female, 37 years old at the time she disappeared. She was 4'11" to 5'1" and 90 to 105 pounds with blonde hair and green eyes. She had a mole on the left side of her chin and a mole on her upper chest and neck area. Virginia was last seen in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina on October 17th, 2000. She was a prostitute and she disappeared at the same time as 4 other prostitutes from the same area. So 3 of the other missing people were found victims of homicide, and they were dumped in remote areas in Wilmington and out of state. And authorities believe that they were victims of serial offender John Wayne Boyer. And that smaller inset picture you see on the slide is John Wayne Boyer. He was a long-distance truck driver who did target prostitutes throughout the southeastern United States. In 2003, he was convicted of taking the life of a Wilmington woman. He was later convicted of taking the life of a Tennessee woman, and he did admit to dumping victims' remains off of Interstate 20 in South Carolina. And investigators think he could have been taking the lives of women since as early as 1989. So Beach, Virginia has never been located. Boyer has not been charged in her disappearance, and her case remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding this case, call the Wilmington Police Department at 910-343-3686. And I believe this is our last one. This is Karen Rae Bosta. Let me get her information. Karen went missing on May 31st, 2015 from Edenton, North Carolina. She is a white female. She was 39 years old at the time that she disappeared. She will be 48 years old today. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'2" to 5'3", 140 to 150 pounds. She was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, a white shorts, and gray slip-on Skechers shoes. She was carrying a pink quilted fabric pocketbook with paisley print, excuse me, and her car keys were attached on a hook holder with a butterfly. At the time she was taking medication. The medicine, it said, had severe side effects if she suddenly stopped taking it. She had brown hair and blue eyes. She did have a tattoo of a butterfly on her lower back just above her buttocks, and a tattoo of a small red strawberry on her upper back between her shoulder blades. So Karen was last seen leaving a Food Line store at North Broad Street and Coke Avenue in Edenton, North Carolina on May 31st, 2015. She had went out with friends. She never arrived back home. About a week later, her red 1997 Lincoln Continental was found parked in the back lot outside of a shopping center at Gaslight Square in Edenton. The doors were locked and the keys were missing. Thomas Edward White Sr. is a person of interest in her disappearance, and that smaller inset picture there is Mr. White. The day after she went missing, he used a Discover credit card that belonged to Karen. Karen did have this card with her on the night of her disappearance. He bought cigarettes at a Food Line store in Edenton. He was charged with obtaining property by false pretense and attempting to obtain property by false pretense. In January of 2018, Mr. White pleaded guilty to obtaining property by false pretense. He was ordered to pay $600 in restitution and spend 6 weekends in jail and 36 months on probation and parole. Because of the circumstances, authorities are looking into the possibility that Mr. White was involved in the disappearance. Foul play is suspected in the case, as her disappearance is uncharacteristic of her behavior and it remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Karen's disappearance, there are several phone numbers, agencies. You can call the Perkman County Sheriff's Office at 252-426-5615, the Edenton Police Department at 252-337-4875, or the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation at 919-662-4500. And I do believe I have a news article with a little bit more information. And this is from May of 2019. Karen Rae Bosta was outgoing and friendly, a kind, passionate, and loving daughter. Her mother, Arlene Murin, told Dateline. Arlene raised Karen, the youngest of 2 kids, in New Jersey. Arlene moved to North Carolina once her kids were grown, while Karen stayed in New Jersey to attend Morris County Community College and study early childhood development. Arlene told Dateline that Karen loved working with children. She said they were drawn to her boundless energy, enthusiasm, and caring, fun-loving nature. In 2014, Karen, then 38, moved to Hertford, North Carolina to live with her mother. According to Arlene, at around noon on May 30th, 2015, Karen told her she was heading out to run some errands and was going to see a few friends later in the day. That evening, Karen texted her mother saying that she would be home early. Arlene believes Karen was with her friends about 20 minutes away in Edenton at the time that she sent the text. But Karen never arrived home. Arlene tried calling her daughter many times, but her phone just kept ringing. A couple of days later, Arlene called the Perkins County Police Department to report her daughter missing. Her mother says, "I didn't report her missing at first because I just could not believe it. I never in a million years thought something like this would happen to her." While family told Dateline they believe Karen was last seen at a local Walgreens, Perkins County Sheriff Shelby White said their investigation shows Karen last being seen at a Food Line store. Sheriff White said she had 3 separate transactions there, and the cameras showed her by herself around 10 p.m. Sheriff White said Karen did make a few calls from her phone after the camera showed her at the Food Line, but the phone died 2 days later on June 1st. For days, there were no clues as to where Karen could have been. Then, a few days after she was last seen on that video, Karen's car was found in a parking lot about a mile away from the Food Line. The Perkins Police Department told Dateline there were no fingerprints or DNA on, in, or around the car. According to police, there was nothing left in the car except a pack of cigarettes. Arlene told Dateline that she had loaned Karen a credit card so she could buy a pack of cigarettes that day. Arlene did notice that there was activity on that credit card the day after Karen was last seen on video at the Food Line. Sheriff White told Dateline it was used at a gas station that was on the way back from Edenton to Hertford. When I went to look at the gas station footage, I realized it was someone Karen knew. He also attempted to use it at a Food Line in Edenton, but the card was denied. Arlene told Dateline that the man who used the card is Thomas Edward White, who they say was a friend of Karen. And according to Arlene, White claimed that he found the credit card on his front porch. Sheriff White said he was brought in for questioning. Sheriff White, who is not related to Thomas Edward White, told Dateline. He went on to say, and he was given a polygraph, which he failed. Sheriff White said he spoke to the polygraph administrator after the test, and together he said they determined White, quote, didn't do this, but he knows what happened and just won't tell us anything. So that I find that interesting that they don't think he did it, but he, in their opinion, from the polygraph test, does know what happened and just wouldn't say anything. Thomas Edward White is not considered a suspect in Karen's disappearance. There have been multiple search teams, helicopters, and ATV searches, foot and canine pursuits, dive teams, and cell phone tracking. We saw where the phone went and what she did, Sheriff White told Dateline. According to the police, Karen's cell phone showed that she was driving around Edenton, was at a fast food restaurant, excuse me, drove past a bridge, went back and forth to White's house. According to Karen's family, this activity, this activity was not unusual. Since the last known location for Karen was Edenton, the Edenton police have also helped investigate her disappearance. Edenton Police Chief Henry King told Dateline how difficult the search was since the surrounding areas are all farmland or ocean. So that would lead me, or is obvious, that if you have a lot of open land, wooded land, farmland, or bodies of water, unfortunately, it's very hard to find someone or find someone's remains in those particular environments. Debbie Manning, founder and CEO of the National Center for the Missing and Endangered Incorporated, has been an advocate for Karen and her family for the last 3 years. Manning said, it is a very, very sad case. It's been crazy from the beginning, a nightmare of a case. Karen's mother, Arlene, told Dateline that Karen has a mental disorder and she was on medication. She said since Karen had a cognitive impairment, a silver alert should have been enacted, and it wasn't. Missing persons advocate Debbie Manning said, adding that she believes having multiple agencies working the case also slowed down the investigation. Since Karen lived in a different county than where her car was found, there were 2 police departments working on her case, which allowed for miscommunication between the different police departments. In September of 2017, Governor Roy Cooper announced that the state of North Carolina would offer a reward of up to $5,000 for information leading to the arrest of the person or persons responsible for Karen's disappearance. But still, no one has come forward, Edenton Police Chief King said. I want to get this solved for this family, but it's one of those tough cases where nobody is talking. And apparently the Perkins sheriff agreed. The sheriff said, we believe somebody knows something, but they're just not saying it. Arlene told Dateline that the rest of the family is just praying for an answer. We just don't know what to do or where to turn. Karen Rae Bosta would be, at the time of that this article was written, 43 years old. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5'4", 140 to 150 pounds, with brown curly hair and blue eyes. Once again, if you have any information on the circumstances surrounding Karen's disappearance, please call the Perkins County Sheriff's Department at 252-426-5615 or the Edenton Police Department at 252-482-5144. All right, those were our 6 cold case missing persons for the week. Please give this video a like, leave a comment. The most important thing you can do is share, share, share this video anywhere and everywhere you can so that it reaches as many people as possible to get this information out as quickly as possible to as many people as possible. Share it to all your social media platforms. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be careful out there. Take care of each other. That's the most important thing we can do is take care of our fellow human beings. And I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.